Hello! Now that we've had a chance to get through some of that introduction to arithmetic sequences and some of those basics, now we're going to take it to the next step. Today we're going to find missing terms and finding number of terms, as well as work with some word problems. So our first example talks about finding the three terms between -12 and 16 that give given that the sequences are arithmetic. You will probably, somewhere along the way, some of you will probably figure out some tricks to figuring this out, but the method I'm going to show you is a tried and true way that will work every single time. Our first step is going to be to set up that sequence. So we've got the sequence set up. We've got term 1, term 2, 3, 4, 5 labeled. Then we're going to find that common difference. That's the one thing we don't know. So yesterday we talked about how our explicit formula is term n equal to term 1 plus our common difference times the number of terms minus 1. And we're going to relate to that, but the way it works is term n is now going to be that n value, and term 1 will be your start value because it won't always be term 1, plus your common difference, which is that change, kind of like your slope, times n minus 1. And so when we look here, our end value is 16. Our starting value is -12. We don't know d, but we are looking at the n minus 1, which would be 5 minus 1, or 4. And the way we can figure that out, if you can't remember that, is how many times are we applying that common difference? Well, 1 time to get to term 2, twice to get to term 3, 3 times to get to term 4, and then 4 times to get to that term 5 of 16. So that means that our n minus 1 is 4. So now we just solve for d. Our first step is going to be to add 12 on both sides, and we get that 28 equals 4 times d. Then we divide by 4, and we get that our common difference is 7. So then once we've done that, then we just find those missing terms using d. That means we're going to add 7 here. -12 plus 7 is -5. Add 7 here. -5 plus 7 is 2. Then we'll add 7 here. And 2 plus 7 is 9. And then I always check, if I add 7 to 9, I do get 16. So my answer would be -5, 2, and 9. And I will tell you, one of the things that you might see in terms of MCAs, ACT, etc., and a question like this, is they will call them means, because they're basically like little mini averages within the problem. So the next type is a similar type of problem, but now we're saying find the 10th term. Given of the arithmetic sequence, we know that term 3 is -5 and term 6 is 16. So what I like to do is I like to make a table where I'm going to make my term and I'm going to make my value. So term 3 is -5. Term 4 we don't know. Term 5 we don't know. And term 6 is 16. We also then want to make sure we establish that 7, 8, 9, 10, because this is what we're actually ending up trying to find. So what we will do now is set up our problem. Our n value that we know is 16, and our start value is -5, and that's plus d of some sort. Now, here's where it gets tricky. A lot of you want to say, okay, 16 is 6, term 6, 6 minus 1 is 5. But we have to, because we have term 3, this is going to be like 6 minus 3. Because when we apply the common difference, it's 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. And 6 minus 3 is 3. So we're looking at 16 equal to -5 plus 3d. So we add 5. And we get 21 equal to 3d. We divide by 3, and we get d equals 7 again.
So then we're done, right?
No, that's a good question. Now, a lot of people want to jump then and say, well, -5 plus 7 is 2, 2 plus 7 is 9, but we don't need those. We want to get out here. So now what we do is we go back to our terms of, here is kind of that term, explicit formula, except we don't have 16. So we want to find term 10, and our first term we're looking at is -5. But remember, we want to apply the common difference 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, instead of -5, we're actually going to use 16 as our starting point. Plus our common difference of 7 times 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So we have 16 plus 28, and 16 plus 28 is 43. So this should be our number. If you want to check it, you can say, well, 16 plus 7 is 23. 23 plus 7 is 30. 30 plus 7 is 37. 37 plus 7, 44, my bad. So 44. So forgive me there, the answer is 44. So now, we're taking it one step further, we're going to find the number of terms in the sequence. So here, I don't know n, but I can find everything else. So here's term n, and I like to label everything. This is term 1. To get from 121 to 117 is -4. So there's my D. So we go ahead and we say, okay, term n is -19. You got to be careful because a lot of people want to make the bigger number term n, and you have to go from the end to the beginning. Term 1 is 121, plus our common difference of -4 times n minus 1, which we don't know what n minus 1 is. So now I start by subtracting 121, and I see that these are both negative, so it's going to be a negative answer, and I can add them up, and I get 140 equals -4 times n minus 1. Well, 140 is divisible by 4, so we're going to just divide by -4 to cancel these. And 140 is negative divided by a negative is positive. 4 goes into 14 3 times, which is 12. We have 2 left over. 4 goes into 20 5 times, so 35 equals n minus 1. Then we add 1 to both sides, and that tells me that n is 36, so there are 36 terms in this sequence. And if you wanted to go through and find all the terms from 121 down to -19, be my guest. So to summarize that, we identified the pieces we knew, and we substitute them into the formula, explicit formula, and we solved for n. Our last piece is going to be your favorite and mine, a word problem. So we have this word problem of a car is bought for $25,000 and it will depreciate by approximately $150 per month. We want to calculate the value of the car after 5 years. All right, our first step is going to be in setting up our sequence. So we want to look at this sequence and we can start finding our numbers. So our first term, which technically I guess you could say is term 0, which would then eliminate that n minus 1. So we have $25,000. And this is where you guys will get stuck, because term 0, because you're buying the car there, no time has passed. After 1 month, then the car will depreciate by $150, which will be $24,850. Then after 2 months, we depreciate another $150, and you have $24,700. So then we keep going. Step 2 is going to be to write that explicit formula. So your explicit formula typically is term n equal to term 1 plus d times n minus 1. Because we are making this, you can choose to make this your sub first term, your pseudo first term, or you could start with the 24,850. If you start with the 24,850, you'll use n minus 1. If you start with 25,000, then you will just use n. So I know that sounds kind of confusing, but think of it in terms of if I were to use term n and say term n equals term 1 of 24,850 plus a negative 150 times n minus 1. Well, I would distribute the negative 150 in, so I'd have minus 150n plus 150. And then we have our 24,850 here. And when I go ahead and combine my like terms, I'm going to get that term n is equal to 25,000 minus 150n anyway. So that's why it becomes term 0, because it's your y-intercept. So we've got our explicit formula. So now we're going to use that to solve the problem. We want 5 years, so that's term 5. So if we put in term 5, that's going to be 25,000 minus 150 times 5. Well, 150 times 5, 100 times 5 is 500. 50 times 5 is 250, so that's 750. So we got 25,000 minus 750. That means that my answer is going to be that after 5, one catch. Odd. How many of you noticed that it depreciates 150 per month? And we want after 5 years. So is our n really 5? No, it's not. So in terms of 5 years, that means we have 5 times 12 because there's 12 months, so 12 times it's going to depreciate in 5 years. So that is 60. So we're actually going to cross this off, and we're going to find term 60, which is going to be 25,000 minus 150 times 60. So 150 times 6 is 300, 600, 900, add another 0. So this is 9,000. And so when we take 25,000 minus 9,000, remember we're in the thousands, so that means that we can subtract 10 and add 1 back, so we will be at a value of 16,000 for the car. And if you had gone the route of 5, you would have gotten 24,750, which doesn't make any sense because after 2 months it's already lower than that. So now I have some U-try problems for you. Here are my 2. You're going to find the missing terms in this arithmetic sequence, and then if I tell you the third term is negative 5 and the sixth term is negative 11, I want you to find the ninth term. And as always, bring your questions with you.